Hi everyone, James here from Salesbuildr. I'm here at the CompTIA community meeting and the Spotlight Awards here in Birmingham, and I'm with Daniel Welling from the MSP Finance Team. Now, Daniel, how are you doing?
Very good, and really pleased to be here.
Excellent, good man. Daniel, listen, I wanted to talk to you because I know you're heavily involved in talking to MSPs around preparing their business for exit, maybe even if they're not quite ready to exit yet, but just keeping that in mind. And I think you had an event yesterday, is that right?
We did, yes, organised by Paul Lloyd, supported by Also Group. And actually, the title of that event, the theme was Start with the End in Mind.
Love it, right.
All about growing MSP value.
Excellent. So for our audience who are MSPs, they may or may not be thinking about potentially an exit. What I'd love to try and get across is some of the things that you need to think about. So when you're talking with MSP, perhaps advising them around what tactical steps should I take to get my business in a state where I can get the best valuation from it. Are there any sort of key areas that you focus on?
Well, lots of areas to focus on, and this isn't an overnight activity. This is something that takes months, years, quarters, decades of planning in some cases. The nub of it, though, is that if you are not involved in the business when you come to exit at an operational level, then it's going to be worth more money per se. And if it is a certain scale, then it will be worth even more money. So the two key things are scale and not being involved.
Okay, so that sounds fairly obvious. The scale side of things, the more turnover we're talking about here, the greater the valuation, or what's the relationship there?
Well, the old cliche of turnover is vanity and profit is sanity is always to be remembered. When we're talking about valuing a business of scale, we're going to be talking about EBITDA, and we're talking about a multiple of EBITDA. So an example, other valuation methods are available, and markets obviously lots of friction and activity that affects. But basically, if you had a business today of say 500,000 of normalised EBITDA, then you might expect an EBITDA multiple of say 5, 6, something of that nature. Okay. If you had a business with an EBITDA of $1 million, so this is profits, not revenue of $1 million, then you might be getting up towards the 8, 9s, 10s even, subject to. Lots of attributes of the business, but the bigger the business, the higher the multiple, because the buyers of these size businesses, money is not an object for them. It's not an affordability issue. They can borrow 10 million as much as they can borrow 100 million if the opportunity is there. But what they want to buy is a business that's going to give them a return, and the more complete functioning businesses they can buy, the better. Ultimately, size does matter.
Okay, that's good to know. So, if you've got a business perhaps that's at the 500,000 mark, should we say, in terms of EBITDA, what are some of the steps they should be taking, do you think, to better prepare them? Obviously, you've touched on the leadership there. Which areas of the business should we be looking at perhaps to increase or stand the best chance of perhaps having a business acquired in the future?
If you've got $500,000 of EBITDA, then you're probably doing a lot of the things right already. You don't get there by accident. The key aspects, and I think if you take the MSP, the typical MSP journey from say startup through to that size of business, most MSPs are founded by an engineer, a technician, and they typically are very passionate about what they do and how they do it for their customers, and as they go through that first level of scale, they remove the technical delivery from their day-to-day. That's normally the first phase of scaling a business. Okay. You stop doing delivery and you are no longer an engineer.
Why is that important? important?
Well, because if you're doing the delivery, then you're not doing the sales, you're not doing the leadership, which are the next phases that you then typically grow into as an MSP owner.
Okay.
And if you can have delegated delivery, then that gives you time to then focus on sales and marketing, and businesses below $500,000 of EBITDA. Maybe it's not long ago that the owner stopped being the principal salesperson for the business, subject to the size and age of the business.
So you've got a challenge there, going from the founder-led growth to the sort of sales-led growth, as it were.
Yes. Because it's hard enough to delegate delivery to qualified engineers that are affordable. Typically, the people you wouldn't want to employ are either gainfully employed elsewhere, or they're starting their own MSP, because if they're that good, they probably don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
And the same is true of commercial people, of salespeople, of account managers, new business. New business is the hardest element to delegate. Account management, the TAM role, that's an easier one to delegate, and so that owner journey, delegate delivery, then delegate account management, and then the final active task that you're removing then is new business. But great new business salespeople are not inexpensive. They are worth their weight in gold. So that's why even at that size of business, the principal's still going to be involved in sales.
How much focus should you place new business? So how much focus should an organisation place on having the sort of the new business function in order? How important is that to potential?
It's key.
buyer?
It's key because we talked about size mattering, and the other key aspect that a buyer's going to look at is growth rate. So a buyer will look back historically over the years. What's the growth rate been? Therefore, what's it likely to be in the future, assuming that nothing has changed? So
many businesses run on referrals, right? So I mean,
So that's not a deliberate growth mechanism. It's great because referrals typically come to us in a state of readiness to buy, and so closing referred opportunities is I wouldn't say easier, but it's a different level of sales to closing from cold non-referred opportunities. So,
very much so. So that kind of that ratio between the referred business and the ability to go out and actually find new business and convert it, that's a key factor then in terms of how interested a buyer would be.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, the buyers with unlimited budgets, in effect, they want to buy a complete business, and a complete business is one that self-heals and is growing. So if they don't have to recruit and invest in salespeople, or recruit and invest in an MD, then that business is going to hopefully continue on its trajectory without too much interference from the buyer. So they're going to be interested in paying a premium for that.
Wow. Okay. Can I ask you how much importance is placed on perhaps like sort of the automation? We hear a lot about automation being an opportunity to sort of boost efficiency. Is that something that buyers really focus on in terms of the efficiency, or does it really come down to just sort of the profit that's being generated from the business?
Profits in cash terms, in pound notes, but profits in percentage terms, which would obviously go towards efficiency is one of the levers you can pull to affect that. Actually, there's a working window here. If you have a business that has, say, a reported EBITDA in the 20-ish% category, then there's a lot of things happening right now that achieve that.
Okay.
The majority of MSPs, I would say, go from 0 percentage.
Which we unfortunately see that more often than you would like.
Yeah, and in fact, in reality, negative, because the owners could probably earn more money working for someone else than running their own business. So if you say you've got negative, and then the sort of first milestone is being break even in true EBITDA sense, then you go through layers of profitability growth. So I would say a good first target would be to reach sort of 10% as an EBITDA. And if you look at research conducted by, for example, ConnectWise, SLI, they would be saying best in class EBITDA is around the sort of 18% level. So mid to late teens is a sustainable level to be looking at. But there are always exceptions and circumstances. But if you haven't planned this well enough in advance of your exit, coming back to the original theme of start with the end in mind, and you're trying to artificially engineer an EBITDA.
Yes.
Let's say, for example, you sack all the new business salespeople a year before you go to market. The buyer's going to see that. It's not like they're not going to notice that you did that, and that's added another £200,000 back.
So there's no shortcut to this.
There's no shortcut because then probably already the growth will be starting to tail off. So and the buyer's not just going to look at this year's accounts; they're going to look back at previous year's accounts, and they're going, well, why did you get rid of your salespeople? It's not going to wash. Buyers with lots of money have lots of ability to pick out and buy a good business. So,
know what they're looking for.
Yeah, exactly right.
Can I ask you, if you were looking at, perhaps it's one from experience, or perhaps it's just hypothetically, like if you were looking at a business and you were thinking, right, okay, I'm putting this together with the sole purpose to exit in a couple of years' time. Are there any steps that you would go through? I realise there's probably a lot of them, but any sort of key steps that you would go through? So you mentioned about the leadership, that needs to be detached from the business ultimately, the operational side.
Correct.
Obviously, we know you're aiming for this ratio of EBITDA. Any other sort of tactical suggestions that you would sort of recommend? Or go through yourself if you're in this position?
I mean, first of all, any MSP owner really has to become a salesperson.
The owner does.
The owner, in the initial stage, because recruiting someone that's going to sell as passionately and effectively as the owner is, it's going to be so expensive and so hard to find that person that it won't happen in reality.
That's bad news for a lot of people who are perhaps technically based, technically led.
Yeah, absolutely, but. If they're looking to grow a multi-million-pound business, then perhaps that isn't for them, and perhaps now's the best time to realise that, rather than carry on for another 10 years and have not earned enough, as much as they could do elsewhere. So it's what you're prepared to do to reach your goal, to either change what you're doing or change your goal to fit what your tolerances are. And probably one of the key things that we've not touched on so far is, we're talking about financial measures of the business. So tactically, the first thing, again, most MSP owners aren't financially minded or curious, and you can get away with running a business without good financial controls, as long as the cash flow is coming in. And again, most immature MSPs would look at their bank balance as their key measure of success.
Yes.
Which as we would know, that can be misleading. So the first tactical step is to get into the habit and the rhythm of producing management accounts on a monthly basis, reviewing them, gaining insight, building a budget that sets out the ambitions for the business and ultimately a business plan.
When we talk about management accounts, what are you talking about here? I mean, without going into too much detail, what is it, just fundamentally, what are the basic building blocks of a management report we should be having in place?
Imagine what you produce at the year end, a P&L, profit and loss, and a balance sheet. It's producing one of those monthly.
Got it.
And except your accountant won't produce it in a statutory accounts filing format. They'll produce it in a management accounts format, which will have properly accounted for revenue and cost of sale, including labour, within the cost of sale, delivery labour.
PSA is important here, I assume.
PSA is important because that ideally should be driving the billing and dropping as much of this into the right buckets.
That's the professional services automation tool, I should say. We're terrible for acronyms in this business.
Yeah,
but
PSA, yeah.
Everyone's going to know.
Yeah, Professional Speakers Association.
It could be any number of things, isn't it?
Effectively the activity and the rhythm of producing management accounts, reviewing those, taking decisions about what you're going to do to affect or correct the course of the business.
But on a monthly basis, I guess that's what you're saying. Is that.
So over 3 years, you've got 36 opportunities to affect the business with intention. Whereas if you only do that annually, and 9 months potentially after the year end, you're 20 months after when the problem occurred. So if you've got a year and a half to waste on your journey towards reaching your goal, then don't do management accounts.
Yes.
Most of us don't have that luxury. So management accounts, becoming a salesperson, and unfortunately, leaving in a lot of ways the engineering side behind. Doesn't mean that you don't keep your hand in, you don't keep yourself informed, but you have to maintain those skills in a different way to perhaps the way you did as an engineer.
Daniel, that's fantastic. I think you've given as many nuggets as I could possibly ask for in that short space of time. Do you want to do a quick shout out for MSP Finance Team and anything else you're involved in?
Absolutely. So MSP Finance Team, founded by myself and Adam Morris, both former MSP owners. And our mission is to elevate the financial maturity of the MSP market, directly addressing these core topics. Either to build the business to the point that you can exit it and realise the value, or indeed to get it to a point where it provides you a healthy income without requiring your time in the business. And ultimately, everyone's got a different balance to an ambition to achieve there. But yeah, that's what Adam and I are up to. And today, as we're at the CompTIA event,
of course,
we are actually up for an award. But as our peer group, the It-Betweeners, which is a collection of people that have been either MSP owners in the past or work with and support the MSP market in one way or another today, we're all community advocates, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get an award. But good luck to all of the nominees, and I'm sure everyone will have a nice evening regardless of the outcome.
Definitely. Listen, thank you so much. I'm sure your services will really be in demand, and good luck for tonight.
Cheers.
All the best. Take care.
You.
Cheers.